The next session is all about global business. And I think we've heard from some really inspirational global CEOs, Paul Polman from Unilever, Anthony Jenkins yesterday from Barclays, who are really setting out to drive the world of business to be much more socially responsible. In the global study, we'll pull up the results in a second if we can put those up behind us. But what you will see, is in line with what's going on in the world today, is that people in the world, and particularly you guys, young people, fundamentally believe that business has an obligation to be more socially responsible. Business has an obligation not only to do well, but to do good. So against that sort of backdrop, you also have the other thing going on, which is business also has an obligation, and we need business to drive growth and create jobs. So if you look at some of the stats, 66% of people are worried it will take years before they'll be able to get the kind of job they want. 74% of people believe that companies that make a profit must also provide social benefits. 80% say that youth unemployment is a problem that's being insufficiently addressed in their countries. 57% think that multinational business has to play a vital role in solving some of the social issues in the world. And 73% think it's important that business has a purpose beyond profit. So you've really got these two things going on, which is on the one hand, business must do good, and on the other hand, we also want business to be a driver of growth and unemployment and jobs. And I think to that point, Kate, you're going to share some facts on unemployment with us.
Yeah, in the 2012 plenary consultation, you felt even more strongly, the ambassadors, with 93% saying that multinational and local businesses have the responsibility to tackle youth unemployment. So that's not the same as saying the government's supposed to do it. And the increase in youth unemployment, you all know, over the last 5 years is absolutely staggering. Here are a couple of figures. In 2007 in Denmark, the percentage of young unemployed people was 7.1%. It's 15.1% today. In the States, it was 11.7%. In 2012, it's 16.4%. In Poland, 18.5% in 2007. Today, 26.7%. In Spain, 19.7%. Today, 52%. In Greece, it was 21.6%. Today, it's 58%. And that's the data from the OECD. So here is the pledge that the ambassadors proposed for you, and which you're going to debate in the plenary or talk about in the plenary. We, the One Young World Ambassadors, pledge to create employment opportunities for young people. Many, many ways that you yourselves can do that. David?
So we're now going to bring on the councillors. First up is a councillor who you heard from yesterday. He's the founder of the School for Startups, very involved with the British government in terms of looking at entrepreneurism and young people. I actually refer to him as Mr. Soundbite, and I think every time I hear Doug speak, he says something which is instantly tweetable, and I loved his point yesterday, which is, I may not always be right, but I always have an opinion. Here he is, Doug Richards.
And now a councillor that we haven't had on stage yet. He's the Director of Social Business and Sustainability for Telefonica in Europe. Oversees Telefonica's Think Big, which is a range of transformational European programs investing in young people and digital technology to promote a more entrepreneurial Europe. Please welcome Glenn Manoff.
Next up, he was previously the head of corporate social responsibility at the BBC. In 2009, he became a member of the World Economic Forum Global Council on Diversity and Talent. In 2010, he served on the Global Agenda Council of the Next Generation at the World Economic Forum, and last year became a member of the World Economic Forum Agenda Council on the Role of Business. He's currently the Vice Chairman of the WEF Agenda Council on the Future of Society. He's also KPMG's Head of Global Citizenship. Please welcome Lord Hastings, Michael Hastings of Scarisbrick.
So after many years at the BBC producing Radio 4's flagship program, Any Questions, and now the Queen of Networking in the UK, as you know. She wowed you last year. She wowed you in the Women Up session. She's Carol Stone.
So if we could also now please bring on the fantastic delegate speakers and give them a very big hand. So I think you know the routine by now. The councillors will now introduce the delegate speakers. Over to you, Doug.
Good morning, One Young World. Happy Sunday. Right. First up is Benjamin, pardon me. First up is Benjamin Dunphy. Benjamin plays many roles in his life, but the relevant role today is that he quite recently set up the Information Door. And what this is about is his belief that in the current crisis for the employment of young people, what they need is they need to be able to differentiate themselves and put a mark on themselves as they go through their education, because he believes, I believe quite correctly, that too many people are getting what you might think of as a standardized education that doesn't give them a chance to express themselves in the real world. The goal of the Information Door is a group portal by which users can find opportunities to participate in scholarship programs like One Young World, internships, and other activities so that they can therefore set themselves on a more differentiated career path. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Benjamin Dunphy.
The average youth today is 3 times more likely than their parents to be unemployed. Students who are now beginning their careers face the toughest economic climate in decades. For our generation, unemployment poses the most systematic threat to the status quo. And the status quo that I make reference to here is the traditional concept that if you work hard and you're educated, you should have a more prosperous life than your parents. But what is driving this graduate unemployment? On one hand, we see more students than ever enrolled in tertiary education. But at the same time, these young people are increasingly pursuing a more standardized route in terms of degrees and majors. This paradoxical scenario has created large pools of graduates with similar qualifications. You create this level playing field, and it becomes only logical that some people are going to miss out. Extracurricular opportunities allow students to find and develop their true passion. It gives them the chance to step outside of the classroom and with low risk, explore different things that interest them. So many incredible opportunities exist. However, students will continue to miss out due to incredibly low levels of awareness. As young leaders, we need to create platforms that raise the awareness of such opportunities. I've begun developing my own platform. It's a simple web-based enterprise called the Information Door. It provides a centralized database of scholarships and funding opportunities that is accessible to students worldwide. Our database has a focus on student competitions, internships, conferences, and scholarship opportunities. I want to take a second to illustrate how beneficial these extracurricular opportunities can be. I want to take the example of 2 groups of young people that I've met from one developing country. The first group I met whilst working for the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh. The second group was a young group of students I met at a global venture pitch competition in Hong Kong. Now, both groups of students were intelligent and driven. Both groups of students came from the same country, had the same background, were of the same age, and studied the same degree. But unfortunately, that's where the similarities end. Since graduating, these two groups of people have experienced vastly different employment outcomes. The first group is severely underemployed, working in jobs far below their educational level. The second group are working for organisations that they're passionate about and in positions that reflect their level of education. So why is this? What's the difference? The only ascertainable difference that I can derive between these two groups of students is the level of exposure to opportunities that they had during tertiary education. In this example, the second group of students, the ones that I met in Hong Kong, were fortunate enough to have studied at a university that actively sought out student opportunities. The other group attended universities that did not. The reason why opportunities like One Young World are so beneficial is that they provide students with the chance to enhance their skills and explore a variety of paths in order to find their true passion. In addition, many of these opportunities have very low barriers to access, offering fully sponsored positions or free entry for previously marginalised students. Therefore, the level of access realistically only depends on a student's awareness of such opportunities. Our team has grown the information door rapidly and have developed a global presence. However, we remain unable to reach students in many regions. We don't have the cultural knowledge to understand how to best engage with students in regions like Africa or South America. But each of you do. We have over 180 countries represented here today, and there exists this chance for us to begin making long-lasting change. The social enterprise, the information door is a social enterprise, and one that I'm not trying to derive a profit from. So therefore, the only reason why I'm speaking to you about this platform today is again to generate awareness. I want to offer you the chance to use the information on our website and begin developing your own community-centric platforms. These platforms that I talk about are incredibly simple and use free online tools. For example, you could start a dedicated Facebook group, a Twitter or a Pinterest page, so that when you find opportunities for people in your community that you think are beneficial, all you have to do is like it, share it, or pin it. Our generation is consistently cited as being the most prolific users of social media, and we must leverage this. I want you to imagine if each one of us started sharing opportunities like the ones I've spoken about today with just 50 of our friends. We could have an immediate impact of 75,000 students. And what if each of them shared it with 50 of their friends? Our indirect impact quickly reaches 3.5 million students. Fellow delegates, this weekend has been truly inspiring, and I can honestly say that I'm in awe of all of you. But we owe it to ourselves, to our friends, our communities, and most importantly, to the future worlds that we will live and lead in, to begin sharing these opportunities. I hope my examples today highlight the impact that they can have for students in both the developing and developed world. Remember, raising awareness levels in today's digital age is free. The only cost to you is a few minutes of your time. Is that too much to ask to ensure that the next generation of students is the last to be plagued by unemployment? I don't think so. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I want to introduce you to a very terrific guy, an interesting guy called John Ratcliffe from South Africa. I met John for the first time this morning. We shared a story that we both felt passionately about, and I'm just going to share that quickly. It's his first time at One Young World. It's also my first time at One Young World. I know a lot about it. I've followed it, as has John, but this is the first time I've been here. And the thing that's really struck, I think, us both is, besides the amazing speakers, Muhammad Yunus, I think for both of us was our favorite, who touched us, Bill Clinton, the list goes on and on, Mark from Free the Children, thank you, Mark from Free the Children. All that is inspirational, but I think the comments and the passion, the commitment from all of you has been the thing that's really, really touched me and inspired me. So from a personal reflection from me, and to share the conversation that John and I had, a thank you, because the inspiration I'll take away has really given me hope. It's given me a new sense of the role models I want for my own children, and given me a deep belief that the deep problems we've discussed have a committed group of people that are going to tackle them. So thank you for that. One of those people is John. John, as I said, is from South Africa and has been committed to a few things throughout his young life and career. And I would summarize it as this. He's passionate about creativity. He's a creative guy, and he's grown up in the first stage of his career through the advertising industry. But he's also passionate about young people. He's passionate about technology, and he's passionate about the possibility of new ideas to change the world. And that's helped him form his view about entrepreneurship being the thing that will help change his country, South Africa, and have a wider impact, like Ben just discussed, around the world. John has started a project which is really interesting to get businesses online in South Africa. The project is called, I need to write it down because it's a Zulu word. It's called Waza. It's a Zulu word for come, so it means come online. And they've got 30,000 businesses online in South Africa that haven't been online previously, and starting to have that ripple effect that you have in reaching more and more people. John's biggest passion is to help the 40 million of the 50 million South Africans currently not online to get online. And that's what he's dedicating himself to now. I'd like to introduce you, John Ratcliffe.
Thanks very much, Glenn, and hi everyone. As Glenn said, my name's John and I'm from South Africa. I think anyone who's ever been to South Africa will know that it's a truly remarkable country, rich in culture, beauty, diversity, and so many other great things. But I think anyone who's been there will also know that with an unemployment rate of 25%, it's also a country of massive social inequality. I believe that one of the most effective ways we as individuals can help to alleviate the unemployment in South Africa is through our support of entrepreneurs. The most important thing here is that entrepreneurs not only support themselves, but they create employment for others too. And I'm going to explain how this can work really well in the context of South Africa. On the street corner outside my home in Johannesburg, and on street corners all over South Africa, you'll find teams of street artists making and selling wire artworks. Over time, I've got to chatting to a number of these street artists about the work they do, the industry around them, and ultimately their humbling stories of life on the street. And in the process, I was told a remarkable story about a man called Winston Rangwani. And Winston is just one of these street artists who for years made street art on the corners of South Africa. Over time, Winston realized that by grouping these street artists together, he could have a greater impact and effectively sell street art to great markets, opening up far more lucrative corporate markets around the world. It was this simple entrepreneurial thought combined with some remarkable follow-through which gave birth to a business called Streetwires. Streetwires was founded in Johannesburg, and to date, they have employed 130 people. And while the numbers are impressive, knowing that they each earn $600 a month as a stable salary, I think understanding the often touching real-life stories of these guys escaping from lives on the street at the age of as young as 17 and moving to respected members of a team and the local community is where this becomes most powerful. The part I find most interesting in the story is the impact that technology has had on amplifying how Streetwires can impact these individuals. A while ago, Streetwires launched a website, and very quickly they started to receive orders from around the world. Today, a full 65% of their total orders come from their website. And that means that of the 130 people they employ, 84 are employed because the website exists. It's stories of impact like this which have really driven me as an individual to focus on the power that the internet and technology has to grow both small businesses and ultimately employment in South Africa. I've done this through a number of different ways. Firstly, through helping the Richard Branson Center of Entrepreneurship in Johannesburg, where we mentor some of the most inspiring young entrepreneurs in our country. and secondly, through a project called Waza Online. Waza Online means come online in Zulu, and it's a project which allows small businesses to build their own free website. And Waza Online has allowed us to have impact at a truly massive scale. In fact, today, 8 months after launch, 30,000 websites have been built on the platform. And each one of these websites comes with its own unique story of a small business stepping into the unknown and doing something new. I think the fascinating thing about Waza Online is that, over this period of time, these websites have really been allowed to change the very destiny of where they're going as businesses. It's unlocked new markets, it's opened up a world of new opportunities, allowing them to reach new customers all over the world. And one such business is called Party Platters. It's a small business based in South Africa, which has been doing well since it inaugurated in 2007. But after hearing about Waza Online and launching a small website, they immediately, just like Streetwires, started to receive orders from all around the world. Today, just 8 months later, they've had a 3 times growth in revenue, and their staff headcount has more than doubled. To be fair, these are not huge numbers. In fact, Party Platters just employs 6 people in South Africa. But I think if you replicate this many thousands of times, the impact on employment is truly massive. Looking through the Waza Online websites, this story could be told many times with different types of businesses, and it's become crystal clear to me as an individual that the internet and technology has a massive power to grow both small businesses and ultimately employment in South Africa. Our great South African leader, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, once said, "Do a little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world." I believe that showing entrepreneurs how to make the most of the internet is the best way for me and for Google in South Africa to do our bit of good in support of entrepreneurs. And whether your skill or passion is marketing or accounting or training or pretty much anything else, I encourage you to find the best way you can do your little bit of good in support of entrepreneurs. Because together, I believe that we can start to overwhelm the world. And if there's one thing I've learned since being in Pittsburgh, it's that this group here today, the most inspired, brilliant group of people I think I've ever been involved in, I think together we definitely can do pretty much anything we set our minds to. Thank you very much.
Let me introduce you to Claudia. This is Claudia Gwinnett, and continuing a little bit of the South African theme, although born in Cape Town and having lived in Johannesburg, proud birth as a South African, proudly now British, working and living in London. But before I bring Claudia up to the stage, I know she would want to and ask you to welcome a young boy that she mentors, who's 8 years old in North London, who's watching online right now. Would you just give him a huge cheer of and a wave and say, come on, watch her and get behind her. That young 8-year-old boy with his mother is watching in North London now, because Claudia every weekend spends time mentoring him and supporting him and helping him develop his education. In fact, at the age of 15, Claudia decided that she would get involved in a school-based program to bring forward issues like global warming and world trade and poverty in a school environment in which those things were not just being ignored, they weren't even being discussed or talked about in a mature way. So although she's still, as you will see in a moment, significantly young, she's significantly matured in her thinking at 22 years of age and working for Barclays Bank. She's absolutely convinced that business has a positive role to play in changing society. So bring Claudia Gwinnett up and let's welcome her.
Thank you, Michael, for such a lovely introduction. One of the main things that stood out to me last year at One Young World was this overwhelming sense of distrust in global businesses. Even more concerning was that many of us had actually given up hope in the potential for big business to do good. That very sentiment, though, changed the course of my last year. But it was also through meeting and listening to some of the most amazing, inspirational, and creative young people of my generation at One Young World that meant that when I returned to London to start my graduate program at Barclays, I simply could not let this year go by without doing something. So I have to thank you for that. So what did I do? Well, it wasn't just myself. 5 other colleagues and I, who I believe are here today as well, decided to just simply seize the opportunity. We were all new to this huge organization, knew very little how anything worked, or even had anyone who we thought could help us. But our aim was quite simple. It was to prove to Barclays and to prove to all of you that trust can be rebuilt, it will be rebuilt, and that the potential of global businesses to leverage their size and business models must not be lost. But more crucially than that, One Young World, we must not let it be lost. Because if I learned anything from last year's conference, it is that it is this generation, more than any other generation, that understands the turning point we're at in our history, where we have the possibility of achieving social goals through the rise of not-for-profit, but more than profit. This change is here to stay, and I want global businesses to play their part in that. And whilst we cannot be that second leg that Mohammed Yunus spoke of the other day, I do truly believe that we can definitely help to build it. So how did we start to put those beliefs into actions? Well, we wanted to develop a unique proposition internally that would work to overcome one of the greatest challenges we face as young people. In fact, it knows no boundaries. With 75 million young people unemployed around the world, to me, this is a global crisis, and if ignored, it will have a seismic social and economic effect on future generations. Realizing the untapped potential of young people is crucial for the countries that I live in, with aging populations, in which the next generation will bear an even larger share of the social costs. But it is equally critical for countries with young populations, like the country I was born in, South Africa, where a lack of opportunity can feed social unrest. And for Barclays, no matter how generous our philanthropic activity can be, nothing can substitute for the impact of our business, and in fact all global businesses, doing business in the right way, and in particular, doing business the right way for young people. There's been so much talk at this conference on how to do something and how to put all of your beliefs and passions into action. Well, I can honestly say that after having done this myself, it is truly just down to a lot of hard work and perseverance, and never actually giving up. So with new employees at Barclays, we just learnt how things work. We grew our network and we challenged old ideas, or we just found cleverer and smarter ways around them. And after 9 long months, we finally got somewhere, and we developed an initiative called Launchpad, which simply uses our existing business know-how, but for a greater good. That greater good is giving young people the opportunity, young people just like yourselves, access to a diverse set of tools and resources to help them run social enterprises. We will stand as an advocate for all those businesses whose ideas spark new trends, create new jobs, and create social impact. They will be run by young people with energy, vision, and passion, and they will be laying the foundations of this future economy. We will be working to ensure that in the years to come, we do not see unemployment in youth increasing at the rate that we are currently all witnessing. But more importantly, this will also ensure that these businesses and these young people do not fall under our corporate responsibility agenda, but our business agenda. There are many reasons for this. Firstly, I saw the enormous potential that social enterprises and businesses were having here in the One Young World network, but also because the increase in the social enterprise trend can be observed in countries with different levels of economic development, welfare, and legal systems. Last year in the UK, for example, 50% growth was predicted in social enterprises compared to 41% in SMEs. And in Europe, over 11 million people are paid through social enterprises. This trend is just far more than a series of empty words, because it is showing us that when business is pursued the right way, everybody wins. But young people especially can benefit from enterprises that build their skills and confidence, create and keep wealth in our most deprived communities, provide role models, reward hard work, and give young people a voice and stake in what they do. So last year, Bob Geldof said that what his generation failed to understand was the collective opportunity this generation saw in creating a movement. We have started quite small, but I ask all of you to return to your communities, your companies, and your businesses, and look at your products, look at the distribution channels and the business models, and find ways so that they can be better leveraged. Let's showcase and collaborate through the network of One Young World how young people will find original and sustainable solutions to the problems we all face together. I also believe that we should all be able to demonstrate entrepreneurial activity in any business or organization that we work for, and we should all be campaigning to ensure that our employers allow this. I believe it is this that will ensure that businesses do not lose sight or become complacent, and it will be a far more effective catalyst for change than any amount of regulation or legislation. And this movement, though, may seem slightly less heroic or romantic than tearing down multinational corporations or resisting globalization and fighting global institutions. But we instead should call for all corporations to prove a responsibility to each other and not just their bottom line. This is because this approach is more likely to work. Thank you very much.
Well, the second person I have an opportunity to introduce, a brilliant person who's got a wonderful flash of red, just to make sure we don't miss her at all. Coming from Moscow, here is Dina Atoya, and Dina, in fact, comes from a country that doesn't exist anymore, called Armenia. And if any of you else from Armenia, you'll identify, oh, there you go, you'll identify with no longer have an existence, but partly previously under the USSR. But she's going to come and speak to us about her passion, her sense of drive and energy. She works for a great company, PepsiCo. She's responsible for the developments PepsiCo undertakes in emerging markets and developing markets. An important thing to know about Dina is that she is a chemist, of course, by training and background, and she can't stand waffle or blah blah, as she calls it. So straight to the point, Dina, go for it.
Thank you, Michael, for this kind introduction. Hello, my friends. Last week, I had a discussion with my parents regarding this forum. And it's really striking that when they were at my age, around 30, in Soviet Union back in 1980s, all the subjects that we discussed today, like global society, influence of the global business, international forum, were not possible and were not relevant. One thing which stays relevant is the willingness and commitment of people to do good for the society and the world we live in, as this has an eternal value. With my speech, I'm not going to inspire you to start new social or environmental programs. My strong belief is that if we young generations start embedding social and environmental responsibility into our ideas, projects, and our mindset, this will make the biggest difference. And the scale of impact can be really huge, global, if you are a part of a global company especially. I also believe that the young generation can become an engine for global business. If we take PepsiCo Russia as an example, in the Moscow headquarters, more than 60% of employees are aged between 20 and 35. During last 5 years, business grew tenfold, and young generation was and is the one facilitating this growth and shaping the future of the company. And PepsiCo Russia is not the only example. After the fall of Soviet Union, other global corporations entered Russia, and it was the young people who were open and eager to learn about this new global culture, to learn the language, and to discuss and develop new ideas. We play a very important role for the global business, not only as employees, but also as consumers and customers. Therefore, I strongly believe that we are responsible for the ethical behavior in front of the global community, but also in front of ourselves. So I strongly believe that we need to have social and environmental responsibility as a part of our agenda. Very often, making decisions without consideration of social or environmental aspects can lead to greater expense or even losses in the long term for the company. As a food product developer, I can give you an example. So I design snack products. So when you design a new snack product, say corn snack or potato chips, with a social responsibility mindset, you check all possibilities for using healthy ingredients, such as lower salt levels, lower fats, healthier fats, and natural ingredients wherever possible. If you are environmentally responsible, you also think where these ingredients come from, sustainable agriculture, or how the products are manufactured at a factory run by renewable energy sources. We have to consider these trends ahead of our consumers as a part of the product development, rather than trying to rework the design later. I believe that this means that we need to take calculated risks, but we also need to innovate. Innovations require courage from the companies and individuals driving them, and taking risks is absolutely essential. Some people forget, but taking risks means that some of your ideas or projects will not work. And it's fine. So in my R&D career, I saw several examples globally where very good nutritional products were introduced to the market, and then they were delisted. Why? Because people were not ready. They were not ready to pay extra, or there was no real commitment from the sales force, or actually taste has been sacrificed. However, there are very positive examples as well. I was lucky to work in an R&D team on the developing of crisp breads for the Russian market. So crisp breads is a very traditional snack in Russia. But we decided to use a non-traditional technology to improve the quality control and hard texture of the product. So at first, people were very skeptical about this, always negatively comparing it to the traditional snack. Now, after 6 years, our product is #1 in the category. And some youngsters believe that our product is the traditional one. So I believe that the success of this product was in innovation, and I'm very sure that all of you can give me examples when companies take risks and innovate. They get a chance to become trendsetters, and they really win. So in conclusion, when you go back home, I'd love to encourage all of you and your teams to do the following. First, brainstorm around how social and environmental responsibility can be built into your everyday life. What can you incorporate into your products and projects to bring positive change or benefit to your society and the world you live in? Second, don't be afraid to hire university graduates or people, young people, even though they don't have work experience. They can bring you the ideas of new generations, ideas you've never thought of before, which can become strong business drivers in the near future. Third, take risks and innovate. You cannot guarantee 100% success. Sometimes you are not sure even in 50% success. But if financial risks are not too big and there are no safety risks, then go ahead. Some of your innovation ideas will fly, you'll see it. And I'd like to finish my speech in a classical way with a quote from the famous Russian writer who you probably know, Leo Tolstoy, who said, "In order to believe in good, start doing it." Thank you.
It's my privilege to introduce the next speaker, the very charming Juna Hashimoto, whom I met this morning for the first time. Juna is one of the young Bainese in the crowd. I'm sure there's a few others of you floating around. There you go. What I find very, pardon me, Juna is from Tokyo, and what I find very interesting about what she's trying to do is something that I'm very sympathetic towards. She said she doesn't like fluff and waffle. She doesn't like uncertain outcomes. She likes things to be concrete and to have consequences. I think that's a very important sentiment. It applies in her life in the context of her desires to have an impact in the social world, in charities, nonprofits, and those who seek to do better through social intervention. But she brings with her the discipline of working in a consultancy like Bain, and she thinks that there is a marriage to be made between the two. The application of the strict processes and the ability to intervene to improve businesses that Bain brings to the world, she believes can be brought to the social world as well. I think that is a very noble desire and an aspiration I hope she fulfills. Ladies and gentlemen, Juna Hashimoto.
Wow. Thank you, Doug. Hello, my name is Juna Hashimoto. And like most of you here, I imagine a world without poverty. I imagine a world where every individual has access to adequate healthcare and education. I also imagine a world where everyone is represented, every voice is heard. But why does that have to do anything with business? So, for the last couple of years, I've been asking myself a question, which I will propose to you, the audience, as well. Are the principles of business, the skills and concepts, the frameworks applicable to poverty alleviation and social development, especially for social sector organizations? The short answer is yes, without a doubt, and I'm sure you already knew that. Put another way, actually doing business in the social sector world is much harder, and therefore business skills are much more important than you may think. How did I come to this realization? Well, it all started for me when I was 13. Growing up in Southeast Asia during my formative years, as a privileged daughter of an expat, I was exposed to a drastic difference of the haves and the have-nots. It was also the first time I ever visited a slum. Cherry, the girl I met there, I will never forget her. She was about the same age as me. She kindly befriended me and invited me back to her place. I was totally unprepared to see what I saw next. She lived in a room no bigger than my bathroom at home with 5 other family members. I was very young and did not understand the complexities of poverty. To be honest, I still don't fully understand the complexities of poverty, but I was sure of one thing. This was very, very wrong. So for the next 10 years of my life, I dedicated myself to volunteering at charity organizations, both local and global. I studied urban development and public health while advising policymakers. But the longer I worked, the more frustrated I became. My impact was too small. The results I was delivering was very hard to track. And worse, though our people were passionate and dedicated, our execution somehow rarely tracked with our intentions. This is when I turned to business, reluctantly. In fact, I thought most business people were soulless and out of touch with reality. Boy, I was both naive and young and wrong. For the last 2 years, I've been working at Bain & Company, a management consulting firm, and people ask me, what do you do there? Well, I say, making an impact. We've been talking about aligning profit-making with social impact, making corporations more socially responsible. We also see the rise in social entrepreneurship, ranging from small-scale local initiatives to global social venture funds. But how about bringing business logic and frameworks more fully to the social sector organizations themselves? I have learned that business frameworks, such as market and competitor analysis, customer segmentation, marketing, employee management, just to name a few, are actually very applicable in running an NGO or NPO. But more importantly, I believe that strong businesses are good at one thing: maximizing impact with limited resources. This requires you to be strategic. You need to focus, simplify, and execute. First, clarify the direction you want to bring your organization. Then, strip away the complexities of the organization. Finally, Delegate accountability to the members to execute and track the impact the organization has made and is making. I know this works because last year I applied these same concepts to help turn around the operations of an anti-human trafficking organization in Japan called the Polaris Project. Polaris Project provides emotional support to trafficked victims, helps them navigate immigration issues, brings them and finds them medical and mental health assistance, as well as coordinates legal assistance. Their efforts help rehabilitate young women, a step that will ultimately prepare them for future legitimate employment. However, like many nonprofits, Polaris Project had trouble securing sufficient funding to sustain its efforts. By sizing the market, which I've estimated as number of trafficked victims, and understanding the sources of funding, which are potential donors, we were able to tailor our marketing directly to those donors. Through this work, we were also able to develop a 3-year business plan. Today, the organization is on a strong footing, and the CEO is now expanding the organization in Japan, adding full-time employees and volunteers, thus enabling Polaris Project to scale its impact. I'm not suggesting that business logic should be applied to every development-related organization. After all nonprofits are in the business of changing lives, supporting, making an impact, and improving lives, not making a profit. And the funds they receive are indirect, not from their customers. But in order to install permanent change, we need a sustainable business model that allows for social sector organizations to have autonomy. And I've learned that business techniques can be of critical assistance. So what does this mean for you come tomorrow? I understand that not all of us will be starting a company or an organization. I understand that not many of us will be sitting on the cabinet of our respective countries. Wouldn't that be nice? But I think that we can also leverage the skills that we have, that we use already today in our day-to-day jobs. If you'd like to provide your own business skills, see if your company will donate them pro bono to nonprofit and volunteer organizations. These skills could be in consulting like mine, or finance, IT, marketing, or others. You can ask your companies to start or expand internship programs to give young people a corporate experience that could build their resume for the future. Or you can volunteer directly at these organizations, offering with key business issues such as growth, communication, strategy, or whatever is your area of expertise. The important thing here is to share your skills and expertise, leverage your expertise that you already have. I'll end here by strongly appealing to those of you who are passionate about social impact. Pick an issue. Start sharing your skills. We sit here today because we understand both the importance of intentions and execution. Ideally, they should meet in the middle. I believe that the principles of business can and must be transferred to the social sector. As for me, as I said in the beginning, it will always be about creating a world without poverty. Thank you.
Well, our last speaker is a 20-year-old social entrepreneur from Peru. She first came to One Young World at the very first summit in 2010, where she met Professor Mohamed Yunus and was inspired by him. And when he visited Peru later that year, she was lucky enough to meet him, and he taught her and really got her on the road to see how to use business, really, to tackle social problems. So she believes passionately in the power and development of a united Latin America. I think she believes that there are more similarities than differences. She graduated with honors from Peru University recently, and 2 months ago she won the Wyra Award, which is an award to her own social enterprise, where she's had mentoring and also had an investment of $50,000 provided by Telefonica, which was wonderful. And she believes, well, yes, a round of applause for that. She believes that even a small change can make a difference, and she's a good networker, so I love her already. She's given me her card. Her company is Duhem, and in Spanish that says, leave a footprint on the world. I have a feeling that our next speaker will do just that. A welcome to Lucia Valencia Tongo.
Thank you for the kind introduction. Every generation is known for something. How do we want to be remembered? Let's be the generation remembered for creating a poverty-free world. Can we do it? I'm really sure we can. Look around us. Today, here we all are, the largest global representation outside the Olympics. We all have great ideas and dreams to change the world. We just need to come together, collectively believe in it, and act. We will really achieve what we want to achieve. Our generation, including myself, believes work needs to be meaningful and must contribute to a greater good. We are the best educated generation, the one with more opportunities, the most interconnected and well-informed, but at the same time, the one with more responsibilities and challenges. In this sense, we, the millennials, must understand, recognize, and assume our new role in society and in the new social economy, which is to take action and become agents of social change. And one of the best ways of doing this is creating and leading innovative, ethical business which seek to produce social benefit. These new models come with a big promise: to become an example for others. And how can we do this? Through my work, I have found the incredible and unique power of business to connect profit with a social cause, solve social problems, produce public benefits, and change behaviors. Businesses are the most powerful force for addressing the pressing issues we face nowadays. However, business models need to be reinvented, and the purpose of companies must be reshaped. In this sense, business must reconnect their success with social progress and bring cost and social responsibility into their business model from the beginning. And we must take the lead in bringing business and society back together. What if I tell you that a good idea to reshape these business models, create new employment opportunities, and end poverty is to begin our own social innovative business? We can lead and transform young enterprises into a driving force for good in the whole world. By creating new business, we as social entrepreneurs can become an example for other companies and people of our vision, innovation, dynamism, and ethic work. Just imagine the power if we all launch 1,300 new startups in 180 different countries to address thousands of social needs. If we start, the others will follow. The challenge is set. This is the reason why three friends and I, inspired by Professor Yunus, began a social business in Peru, with a mission to sell good and responsible products that help improve Peruvians' life quality. We created an online platform to connect responsible and cost-oriented brands in between and with consumers. It focuses mainly on individual responsibility and consumers' choice. The idea is to change consumers' behavior and build a powerful movement that inspires youth to transition from a conventional life to a responsible living. With this, I really want to encourage you to take the risk to create innovative and responsible business. Talking about young business, we cannot fail to mention the role of technology, innovation, and social media. They enable us to create change. In this last decade, digital and social media has given us a new and unique kind of power. Let's use it for good, for making better enterprises, to make awareness about those products and brands that have a high standard of CSR, and to denounce those who are doing really bad. We now have to use all means that we have on our hands. We have no excuses for ignorance or turning a blind eye. But social entrepreneurs cannot change the world by themselves. A flourishing society needs good people doing good in small companies, multinationals, NGOs, international organisms, and government. Doesn't matter which sector you enter, public, private, or philanthropic. We must seek to find ways to deliver social benefit within and across each sector. And that's the idea, to build our life and career so that it's right for us and for the whole world. So when you return to your home countries, think of these 4 simple steps that can help you to take action. First, catch your entrepreneurial spirit so that you can find that sparkle that provides you passion, energy, and commitment. Find something you really, really love to do. Second, familiarize with your reality. Turn to your hometown and identify what is missing, what is the main challenge, and see how you can make a positive impact from your passion. Third, once you found that creative solution, go do it. Think big, create new ideas, innovate with action, build a business model, and apply it to produce social results cost-effectively and efficiently. And finally, invite others to participate. Let me conclude by leaving you with two main ideas. First, as One Young World ambassadors, we have the responsibility to do good for society. It doesn't matter in which sector we work or we develop. We can still do good. Second, we need to be the ones who lead the creation of innovative and responsible business. We need less talk, less planning, and a whole lot more action. Let us begin. Thank you very much.
Great speeches, thank you very much. Now, if the councillors could go down to the mics, I think you know the drill, each councillor take a mic. We can probably do about 5 questions from each microphone, so get there fast if you want to ask a question. If in the meantime we can just pull up the pledge and put that on the screen behind me. So we, the One Young World ambassadors, pledge to create employment opportunities for young people. So that's what we're going to be voting on as a pledge later on. Doug, if you would kick.
I'd like to introduce Suba from the UK.
I wanted to talk to you and put a twist on kind of what's been spoken
Just
about.
one quick reminder, remember, 140 characters as fast as you can.
Okay. When we talk about ethical business, we need to remember that CSR and ethics is only a part of business. And we need to be able to primarily deliver the objectives of our company. Being recognized as socially responsible leaders is great, but we need to live up to that potential. And we can only live up to that potential by doing the best we can in our core business, but doing that with ethics, integrity, and a focus on CSR. If we don't, then someone else will take our position of leadership in the future who may not care about CSR. So mine is really a call to all of you out here in businesses. It's a call for duty to live up to your potential and deliver for your communities, but also for your business. Because our success individually and as a business will help others succeed in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn.
I'd like to introduce Kay from the Philippines.
Hi. Actually, this comment is especially directed to the information door business. I really think it's a very good idea, especially because I believe that extracurricular activities teach a lot of stuff that technical education cannot teach us, like leadership, teamwork, social awareness, and these are the stuff that a lot of the big companies look for in a graduate. So this is especially applicable in the Philippines, where a lot of the big companies only focus on the top 3 universities. This idea levels the playing field. Just another build on the idea is that we should learn, a lot of the graduates should learn also how to communicate the activities that they've done in college. So I think it's also good to teach them resume writing, preparing for a good interview, because this basically is the entry point for them to create a better future.
Thank you. Lord Hastings.
And here I've got Milenko, who is living in Greece, but is from Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, guys. Let me ask one question before we start. Do you believe that this young generation is the most amazing who has ever lived on the earth? Yeah.
Yes.
I agree, yeah. But the question which occupied my mind 2 years ago is why majority of people from this youth generation is absolutely lost after university studies.
why more than 90% of global graduates can never find a job related to their studies. From another side, there are unlimited opportunities all over the world. So my solution and my team's solution, and you can join us, is K-Success. So join us and please share revolution of success to every country of the world, because I believe that no talent should be lost in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Carol.
Here's a welcome to Alanda from Indonesia.
Hi, I want to give a reminder to everyone that an opportunity cannot always be found, but it can always be created, and not only for ourselves, but also for others. Because with 75 million young people currently out of work, there will never be enough opportunities for us if we only rely on global businesses alone. For example, Coca-Cola has 140,000 employees at the moment worldwide, so it's going to take around 500 companies like Coca-Cola to solve the problem. So there is a need of a paradigm shift. To address such staggering challenges, global businesses simply cannot be expected to fill the gap and carry the burden alone. Bruce Lee once said, "To hell with circumstances, we create our own opportunities." And that is how we are going to go through the 21st century. Because if each of us here create an opportunity for 5 people, and every people we help create another opportunity for 5 other people, we would be able to address this problem in 5 years. So dream of not working in a global company, dream of establishing a global company. Thank you.
Doug.
I'd like to introduce Dominic from Switzerland.
We are talking about a lot of problems these days, but who is actually behind these problems? It's the people. And what is the main problem of the people? They are greedy. A lot of people are greedy and they want more and more, and they create these problems. So what is the solution? Let the people teach, like, they won't get further if they're greedy. They won't be more happy if they have like 2 cars, 3 cars. The happiness comes from their passion. If they do something which they are passionate about, they will feel happy. So look around your community like a simple worker asking, what does he like to do? And take the challenge and help him that he can do what he likes to do, and that he doesn't need to do what he has to do, but he can do what he wants to do. So use this passion to create greater good in this world.
Thank you. Greed is bad. Glenn.
I'd like to introduce a colleague of mine, James from the UK, but an international citizen.
Thank you, Glenn. So me again. I'm on Telefonica's grad program. It's been a brilliant opportunity. Actually, one of my first projects was helping launch Wira, which was amazing. I wouldn't have that job if I didn't speak languages. And I remember my mum, when I was choosing my GCSEs, which is like high school in the UK, going, "Oh, don't worry, darling, you don't have to learn Spanish. Everyone speaks English." And luckily, I didn't listen to my parents. So yeah.
You must listen to your parents.
So I basically want to spur on all the people from the English-speaking countries here, because 80% of the people in the room are doing this conference in their second language. So I just want to spur on people from English-speaking nations to get grads, get people in high school to learn languages, because then you make your opportunities international. You have the opportunity to applying anywhere in the world and not just in your city and your country. Thank you.
Okay, with you at the back there, Michael.
Your mic's not on, I think. Is Kate's mic on?
It's on, but it's not picking up, Jim.
Got it.
When I spoke, you didn't.
Start clapping and it will.
Michael, with you.
Okay, let me introduce Shizanza, and he's from Zambia.
Good morning, everyone. The point I would like to make is on the role of global business in more developing countries. While they have a really large presence, like the large companies in these developing countries, and while they are having impact on the development of our economies, perhaps what's more relevant in our setting is young people getting involved. Our governments have already experimented with different development models which haven't really yielded tangible impacts. So perhaps my call to people from where I'm coming from is for our own involvement to create our own future where we're involved in these businesses which have a more local impact. Thank you.
Carol?
I want to introduce a social entrepreneur from Benin who actually lives in India, and welcome to Chapa.
Thank you. I'm from a place. I'm from Africa, and then we have 50% of the population between 16 and 24, and so there is no question about whether we have a role to play or not. But the question is, how do we want to define a new path? And we believe that business, education, and technology is the way out instead of charity and aid. And I'm a proud example of the new wave that is going on the continent right now. I'm a social entrepreneur. I am a proud dropout, and I quit recently my job with the biggest IT company in India. I started my business, and then this business is having local impacts, not only in Africa. I'm using the knowledge in India to train kids in Benin, in my country, and outsourcing businesses from Australia and the United States. And I believe that this is an example that every young African here can actually tap into. We got the potential. We've got all that we need is right inside of us. Don't look anywhere else. We are the answer.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Super. Doug.
I'd like to introduce Vania from Indonesia.
Thank you. So I'm so inspired with all the delegate speakers today about the global business, especially about the social and also environmental responsibility. And just a quick reminder from what I got in Rio +20 conference in Brazil that actually now we are not only facing about the Millennium Development Goals, but also we are facing to the Sustainable Development Goals, which rely on the 3P, people, planet, and profit, which is really related with global business itself. And now I would like to comment that I do hope that the global business now is not only to the CSR for the personal branding, for just one quick event and then it's just finished, but I do believe that we, the young generations, especially from all of us, the delegate from the One Young World Summit itself, can join the global business company and also make a difference, be the monitor for the company itself, to not only make the CSR just for a social program, but also make it as the real sustainable development program, something like that, so it can be more impactful for the others. Thank you.
Okay, I see Doug struggling with numbers at that mic, okay? So I tell you what we'll do. Each of you will speak a minute, and then we've got 24 minutes left. At the end of that 24 minutes, if you haven't spoken, you're not speaking. So I'm going to keep you each to 1 minute, and that's it, okay? So I'm with Glenn at the back there.
I'd like to introduce Gautam from India. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. We spoke a lot about businesses and corporates assuming social responsibility, but since many of us in this room in the future will be famous policymakers and government leaders, I just want the councillors to also address what role government should have in incentivizing through policies and through regulation how we can reshape and redesign our business models for the future. So thanks.
Michael.
This is Salima from Toronto, Canada.
Hi, everyone. I think we can all agree that profits alone cannot sustain corporations, and corporate social responsibility is important. But I think that I want to take this a step further today. I think that global businesses should become co-guarantors of human rights. So if you have corporations that are going into India and outsourcing their businesses in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, if you're setting up shops in the African regions, A, you must uplift the standard of living and working conditions there, and B, you must train and transfer knowledge to the youth as well so they become more self-sustained. I think this is just common sense, and it's just good business practice.
Excellent. Carol.
Jamari from California, who's studying here in Pittsburgh and already established his own software company.
Good day. I really don't care about the lofty ideas or themes that we was just talking about. What I actually care about is we have the ability to today be the global business of change. Because we can use these forums, we can use the Facebook, we can use the Twitter, use your lunchtime break, heck, use that dude's Hey Success. Talk to each other, find out the synergies between what we are doing among each other so that we can help each other to be that business of change. Because we are global right here. This is the globe right here, right? So we can be that global business of change. So use each other, be that network to support each other and find those synergies. Because if you leave without doing that, you wasted all that money people spent on you. Are you raised? If you don't do that here today before you leave.
Yeah, baby. That is exactly the point. Okay, Douglas.
Well, it's a tough act to follow, but Vanessa from Australia, she'll do her best.
She's good. She had a good act yesterday. Come on, Vanessa.
Okay, so over the last year, I've been working on a project which is directly relevant to this. And one of the first things that we did is we went out and surveyed over 150 people to get their thoughts on this topic. And we found that 8 out of 10 people were saying that they want to be able to align themselves with businesses that are doing good, but they've got no idea where to look. They don't know how to find them. And they were also saying that they feel like there's no clear standard as to what a responsible business should actually be. So it feels like on the one hand, we've got businesses that are out there doing good things, sometimes completely overhauling what they're doing. On the other hand, we've got people that are looking for them, that want to be able to find them and recognise them, but there's just this huge disconnect in between. So I think it would be very interesting if one of the councillors, perhaps Doug Richard, because he's standing right next to me, could answer how we can actually bridge that gap between the businesses that are doing good and those socially conscious individuals, or just the general public.
You've really got, it's a great question, because you've got 4 councillors here.
If each of them can touch on
Queen
it.
of Networking, yeah. KPMG at the back there. O2 Telefonica Global Network, the boss of entrepreneurs here. Good question.
So if they can answer that
councillors, follow up with these councillors, grab them, because they'll find you a way for sure. But as the gentleman at that mic was saying, I don't know what his name was, you are the global business. You're it. Glenn.
This is Laura from New York.
Morning, everyone. I just wanted to point out, we have been talking a lot about the power of Facebook and Twitter and these new forms of media that allow us to reach across the globe. But at the same time, I look around the room and I see a third of the heads down, tweeting on Facebook, checking email. We go out to the breaks and people stand in a corner and tweet their thoughts rather than having a conversation and making use of this amazing opportunity that we have. And so, 2 thoughts on that. One, a question to the counselors. How do we leverage these amazing tools we have without losing the human connection that is so necessary to global business? And number 2, we talk a lot about how we need to stop talking and start doing. I think we all need to stop typing and start talking first. Thank you.
Okay, very quickly, and I'll add the time back on here. Let's do something David always has all of you do, but this needs to really only take 1 minute. Stand up. Answering that delegate's point, would you all please turn round and greet someone near you that you haven't met in the greeting of your own country? Okay, everybody, now you get to stop talking and sit down and you carry on tweeting, but that's how you do it. Okay, Lord Hastings, we're with you at the back.
Pleasure, thank you. Here's Shasheen from Australia.
Good morning, everyone. This question is to the panelists. Whether we like it or not, most of this world is really currently dominated by very large corporations. And many of these very large corporations are using their buying power to really manipulate the media to drive their special interests forward. So we've seen this in many areas. We've seen this in backing special interest groups, in the tobacco lobby, in the climate change lobby. We've seen this in advertising misrepresentative facts about tax policy and the way that influences our countries. We've seen very successful campaigns on their part run in places like Australia, the US, the UK, and in many other countries. I'm not going to name names. Many of these are also B2B businesses, so we as consumers are not actually direct consumers of these businesses. I'm talking about mining companies, I'm talking about the big Wall Street banks who we don't bank with, but they bank with other businesses. What my question is in this soundbite world, we in this conference here I don't think we represent the majority of the people in the world. We are a progressive bunch of people. How do we influence the behaviors of these massive companies and the manipulation of the media and special interests? Thank you.
And now welcome to Becky from Philadelphia.
Hi, everyone. Really great session. I just wanted to follow up on the speech from the delegate from Japan. I think that folks from business have a lot to contribute to NGOs, but equally, that experience brings back so many skills into corporations. There's a lot that we in the business world can learn from NGOs in the development sector. And I just wanted to introduce myself, make myself available to any of our corporate delegates. As you mentioned, it's great if you can get your business to allow you to go out and work with an NGO pro bono. And I manage a program at GlaxoSmithKline that does just that, and really like to evangelize those types of programs with other companies. So if you're interested in getting something like that started, I would be happy to share my insights and how it all works with you. So just wanted to introduce myself to everyone.
Where's Benedict? Benedict, who was speaking yesterday, from Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire or Sierra Leone? Benedict, that's the person you need to talk to. GSK, one of the great CEOs of the pharma industry is there. They can do a lot about your out of stocks. Guys, come on, guys, stay with us here. Douglas.
I'd like to introduce Aldo from Indonesia.
Thank you for the chance. I just want to make clear the definition of our pledge, that our pledge is about to giving an employment opportunity to all the young. So the employment here, I want to underline that it's not only to giving them opportunity to get job in the global business, but only to give them the opportunity to encourage themselves, their potential about entrepreneurship. So I want to challenge all of us, especially for all the global business leaders, to take part to make a platform that can be able to all of us to make social business. It's like an investment. So I really appreciate that One Young World has already committed to make a SBA, right? Social Business Acceleration. It's a great opportunity for us to making a great potential for the entrepreneurship. So it's not only the employment to get job in the company, but also the entrepreneur.
100%. Thanks, Aldo. Glenn?
I'd like to introduce Rebaz from Kurdistan, who started his first business as an entrepreneur when he was 15 years old.
Hello, everybody. I want to talk about the business global in a very short. We have a lot of risk and opportunities, but I want to share with you the 3 or 4 opportunities that they are really engine of growth in global growth. The first thing is emerging market, growth in emerging market, and the inventing in IT and small business and networking. In the early morning today, I just tweeted that in this hall, I want to meet everybody, but I don't know how to do that. Please, let's make a platform just to know each other. You know, we heard a lot of, we learned a lot of this in this summit, but we know each other's face, but we don't know each other, what each other we doing. So please, let's make a platform to know each other. Thank you.
Okay. Guys, it's a platform, Facebook, you know about, and I know a lot of you are linked through that, but please, guys, talk to each other whilst you're here. Okay, Michael.
This is Matt, who's an apprentice engineer with BT from the United Kingdom.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to quickly touch on a point, a really simple idea that really, really works, and I've been heavily involved in youth unemployment back in the UK. The vicious sort of cycle that we have in the UK, and I'm sure it's exactly the same all around the world, is the fact that there's so much competition for one specific role, and which means you then can't gain the experience, and then you can't then find the job. And round and round it goes, people are losing hope in society. We work for some of the biggest organisations in this room, sitting here today. And I just want to ask you that, if it's possible, can you go back once you finish the One Young World conference and consider talking to your organisations about offering work experience placements for young unemployed? The smallest piece of experience they can get can really make a difference between employment and non-employment. But most importantly, it sends them a message that everyone in this room, we care about them and we believe in them. Thanks.
Yeah. Carol?
Antonio from Mozambique.
I have a message for all the multinationals in Africa. So I'm going to look at that camera. You business in Africa who say you can't hire African young people because they have no work experience and they have no quality, please stop that. That's bullshit. Why do we have Africans working in Europe, in America, in Asia if they have no quality? That's bullshit again, I'll say. One example, which I'm going to give about few companies which do that is Coca-Cola. They have a program which is called Graduating in Training. They give 1-year training program to all recent graduates from university, and they keep training them. At the end of the program, they see if they are worth to stay there or not, but at least a chance they've given. It's because of that program that I'm working for Coca-Cola today. It's because of that program that my manager is working at Coca-Cola today, and they always do their best to support me. And at the end of every mentoring session, they ask me, what have you learned this month? Not what have you done. So that's what we should do, love us.
Wonderful. Douglas.
I would like to introduce Zuzi from South Africa.
Hi, everyone. With youth unemployment being what it is and there being a surplus of graduates, it's become evident that we can't rely on big business and government to be the only providers of employment. This has now put small and medium enterprises in the spotlight to drive economic growth and create jobs, but they do need our support to survive and thrive. So I would urge you to please vote with your wallets and support SMEs to create the jobs as well and the opportunities that we are looking for. So please support small business.
Okay, so guys, I've let you run as much as I can, and that was the last one on your mic, Doug. Glenn, last one from you. Lord Michael, Lord Hastings, one from you. Carol, one from you. Okay, down to the last one.
They're crushed over here in my line. This is Kayode from Nigeria.
Hi, everyone. I agree with Benjamin that the tertiary education stage is the best level to tackle youth unemployment. The biggest challenge I've seen in my activities in this regard is that some of the people you are trying to help don't even know they need help. They feel better staying in their comfort zones and don't want to take up, they don't sacrifice their comfort for what you want to give to them. My question to councillors, to delegates, especially Benjamin, is, have you seen this challenge in your work and how have you tackled it?
Good. Lord Hastings at the back with you. Last one at your mic.
This is Claudia from Italy.
Hello, everyone. I just want to go back to the idea of footprint, which was a goal during Lucia's speech. I like it very much because I work in CSR, and I do believe that the do well and do good can go hand in hand. There is one condition for that actually the sustainable development policy of a company must be adapted to the company's particular sector and particular footprint of its products and activities. For example, I work in Vivendi, which is a media and entertainment company, and actually we don't have such an important environmental footprint, but we can pollute minds with our content, distribution and production activities. So we defined our sustainable development policy on issues like empowering youth in their media practices, promoting cultural diversity in the films and music we produce, and spotting new artists and talents all around the world. So what I want to say is that all this enhances our economic performance, because we cannot be content leaders all around the world unless we do not meet the varied tastes of all our customers. So I have an idea for all of you delegates to show that sustainable development is strategic to our companies. We could help our managers to define some CSR objectives which are pertinent, relevant to our sectors, and maybe try to link the remuneration of our senior executives to the achievement of these CSR objectives.
Why not? Carol?
Elizabeth from California, who lives and works in Pittsburgh.
Just to piggyback off of Matt's comment earlier, youth employment is a catch-22. Many jobs don't require secondary education or even a completion of a high school diploma, but yet they require experience and/or previous employment to get hired. So at the same time, you can't gain work experience without holding a job, yet you can't get a job without work experience. So this is a question to everyone. How do we get the youth to break this barrier and be able to get them experience outside of extracurricular activities in school?
Councillors, come back from the floor, please. Okay, so a lot of questions there for councillors and I think for each other, and we've only got a few minutes here with the councillors on stage. But honestly, guys, if you were really paying attention to that floor session, you've all got people to link up with who are in your space, who are interested in the same stuff that you're interested in. So to that delegate's point, guys, talk when you're here. You know, there's Facebook and there's face, okay? So, councillors, Carol, sweetheart, comments on the session.
I think I've got to pick up on the one about talk and face, as you say. I thought it was a very good comment. When you see people doing what is probably Twitter, you think, are they answering their emails? And it somehow puts you off your stroke if you're talking or that you're in a group of people. I think nothing beats face-to-face communication, which is why it's so wonderful to have all of you here for One Young World. On the other hand, you can follow up with social media, but I think if you've got to make a choice, do make sure you leave here and leave this conference with at least the contact details of the people you know, and that you've gone up to anybody at all who looks interesting or you've heard on the stage. Don't ever not go up and meet people. The only other comment that I thought was good was the one who said his company asked, I think it was Coca-Cola, at the end of each month, what have you learned? What a good idea for every company.
I think I want to tap into the questions which related to how can you collectively empower jobs to be created, because that was the theme and the promise that we were considering right from the very beginning. And I just want to throw this in as a thought for some of you to think about. We've had the challenge already that you must ensure real communication, real networking, real relationship, take the time with each other, build up your sense of camaraderie, and therefore agree to act together back in your own countries. And one of the things that is a very real challenge for people under 30 years of age, if I can say it like this, is to learn how to give early, that you can then use that resource to invest in other people's employment potential. That's how jobs have got traditionally created in the Eastern world, by families putting resources together to empower others to begin businesses. It's not quite the same in the Western world, but it's about relationships between people putting cash into a committed pot together. That's exactly the same principle under which Grameen came into existence. Put that cash in as contribution, as investment to allow jobs to be created. Now, if you were to take 20 of you working in a common country, friends and colleagues, to put in out of that a percentage of income every month to employ other people to get jobs or facilitate them to apprenticeships, that is a way you can practically begin to do it. But it does mean cash sacrifice. You can't get away from that.
Thank you.
Glenn?
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many great ideas. It's hard to sum up. I think there's a lot of consensus in the room. The talk idea, I think, is a powerful one. And where is Alishka? She's here. Stand up so they can see you. Okay, so one of the things she's keen to talk about is the answer to one of the questions that was posed about how do we better understand and rate companies and what they're doing, and particularly around employing young people. And I deeply believe that we need to know that about companies, and I deeply believe that it's not regulators and more reports and things that are going to do it, but it is through social media and the tools that enable people to have conversations, and that's something that she wants to lead. So I would follow her at the break, make contact and maybe get a group together to think about how do we provide information about companies. I do think it is the obligation of companies to hire young people. I have a team of 6, 3 of them, it's their first job, and they're having a huge impact on my team. I do it because I believe in young people, and youth unemployment is a challenge, but I do it because it makes us better, because we're getting fresh ideas, we're getting fresh energy, we're getting fresh inspiration, we're getting skills that we wouldn't get otherwise, an understanding of problems, a use of social media and digital media, and it really, really matters. The other comment that I heard, which I thought was very, very powerful, is don't join a global business, create a global business. And I think there's never been a time when that's possible. I mean, we've had Jack Dorsey here. We've had people that have created global businesses from very, very small beginnings, people like you who have done it. And I think it's great if you work in a global business, that's terrific. Change things from within. You have the power to do it. And if your business is not doing it, leave and go somewhere else would be my advice. And tweet why they're not doing that and make sure people know what's the truth. But you can go out and create these global businesses, and you can start something, and I would encourage you to do that.
Thank you, Glenn.
A number of years ago, a longitudinal study, the largest one ever done in the US, of small businesses and job formation, showed that from 1980 to 2000, 100% of sustainable jobs in the US were created by small businesses. Large corporations contributed none. Bear that in mind, that I think the end of youth unemployment will come at the beginning of youth self-employment. If you guys want jobs, you are going to have to create them. You are not going to get help. Tomorrow is on your shoulders. I am a passionate advocate of entrepreneurship. I am confident that there is no one in this room, if they wanted to, who couldn't start a business, couldn't employ themselves, and as a natural consequence of that activity, will create jobs for others. My only other comment is this. It's been my privilege to help. I'm embarking on a process in the UK to redesign the British apprenticeship system with the goal of having 1 million new youth in apprenticeships in 1 year. The challenge that we face is that large companies do not regard apprenticeships. And the fact of the matter is, everyone in this room is privileged. Most of you think about tertiary education. I want you to think about all the people who don't have tertiary education. Their path, their ladder out of unemployment is potentially through apprenticeships. And you can have an impact if you work in a large corporations. Large corporations can and should apprentice people. Work-based learning is a powerful method for people who are disengaged to become re-engaged. I encourage you to put pressure on the companies you work at. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.